Shawn?
Oh, hey Joe, what are you up to?
I'm just walking around Wynwood today. What's going on?
Oh, and I just grabbed the coffee over at Panther.
Well, this is kind of random, but do you think you could help me with a video today?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Let's go do it.
Cool.
So we're back upstairs with Shawn at Miami Mortgage Advisors. Shawn, tell us, what do you do?
So I am the Vice President of Miami Mortgage Advisors. We are a local mortgage broker here in Miami. Office is located in downtown Miami, right next to the Intercontinental Building. And what we do as a broker is we take your initial application, so we run your credit once, we put together your application with your income, assets, and credit, and then what we do on your behalf is we go out into the market and shop you with a number of lenders. So rather than having each lender come out and pull your borrower's credit, we have one pool, that way their score is not affected, and then we go out and we find the one who's got the best rate for our borrower, and we also find a lender who's got quick turn times so we can keep the closing within the contract date, because I know getting closings done on time is very important to our realtor partners.
Right. Right. So you're saying that, when somebody works with a broker as opposed to going to a major bank or even online, those websites that you can get a quote, it's much better to go with a broker like your firm because it's one pull and you can really shop and get them the best rate. Exactly.
So there is a time frame that you can get your credit pulled multiple times, but it's usually between 30 to 60 days. So a lot of times when people are shopping over a longer period, those multiple pools can add up and kind of knock the credit down a little bit. The other neat thing is when you go to one bank or one lender, you're subject to their programs. And what we do is we have a much bigger swath of programs. So, you know your buyers. There's always something different. Nobody fits into a perfectly square box most of the time. So what we're able to do is go find a lender that can, accommodate their specific scenario, whether that be down payment assistance or they have a recent bankruptcy, whatever it may be. There's generally at least one lender out there that can accommodate those situations.
Okay, so just giving people options, like even though they don't fit the mold, we have different opportunities for them when they work with a broker.
Exactly. There's different opportunities, and as well as that, each lender kind of has their specific niche that they enjoy lending on. So one person might really like working with, first-time home buyers. They'll allow better terms on, lower credit scores or lower down payments. Other lenders might give great rates to somebody that's willing to put more money down. And really knowing what sweet spot each lender has allows us to place our customers with somebody who's really going to get the best treatment and the best rate from that specific lender.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. So those are the benefits of going with somebody like yourself as opposed to like one of those big banks, which I always tell my customers, don't go to your bank, like really work with someone who's local, because I think we talked about this. Having someone who's local who can call the listing agent or who can call on your behalf, especially because a lot of people are getting into bidding wars right now, right? And
of course, seller's market.
Yeah, and the sellers, they really have to choose the best offer. So maybe you can talk to us about why it's so important to have someone local in your court.
Coming from the listing agent's perspective, I think they find comfort in knowing that the lender that's working on the other side of the deal is from the local market. They know the ins and outs, the specifics, versus somebody that's working in a call center, in the middle of the country. They're 5 hours away from a plane. They're not going to know the specifics of the Miami market, the Broward market versus some other state. So a lot of times there's just inconsistencies just because they simply don't know what the typical protocol is in each area.
So one of the questions that I get, because I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, is we find a place, they love it, and then we run into issues with like a down payment or putting down a nice amount of money, just so that they're in a sweet spot to purchase and they're not purchasing more than what they can afford.
And that's one of the most common issues with somebody that's trying to transition from renting to buying. they've been renting for years, so that monthly payment, they're used to, they can accommodate that, their income allows for that, they've kept paying their bills on time, their credit's there, but saving up 3.5% down, 5% down is kind of the problem that a lot of people come into. As again, they can make the monthly payment on a house, but just getting that down payment becomes the issue. And what's really neat is we offer a down payment assistance program in the form of a 3.5% grant. So if the individual qualifies for your traditional 3.5% down FHA loan, and they become eligible for the program, which we can get into, becoming eligible is super easy, especially down here in Miami. Simply purchasing in this area, in this eligible tract, allows people to be eligible for the down payment assistance program. So we, the lender, take care of the 3.5% down for your buyer. They still have to pay for closing costs, but the nice thing is with FHA loans is it allows for up to a 6% seller credit. So you take the purchase price, 6% of that is what the seller can contribute, and a lot of times that'll take care of all the closing costs.
Right.
So your buyer can really come to closing without having anything out of pocket.
Right. So actually, I think that's something that a lot of realtors don't talk about is the seller concession. And even, in the market that we're at, it's a seller's market. It's funny because last month on one of my closings, my buyers, they own a local French bakery here. They really want to make sure that they're savvy with their money, with everything going on in the pandemic. And we were actually able to negotiate a seller's concession, a seller's credit, up to a certain percent. But it was really helpful for them. It was their first time home purchase. So it just made it a lot more accessible for them to not have to put down all that money.
That's great, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the negotiation. I hear a lot, especially in this market, there's no chance that we can get a seller credit. But it's a simple conversation to have. And if it's the difference between making a deal possible and it not being possible, what does it hurt to ask? I've learned a long time ago that there's always multiple offers on a property at any point. So it's always worth asking just in case those offers don't come to fruition.
Right. So in your experience, helping buyers with this grant, how would somebody get started with this? How would somebody take advantage? They woke up today and they said, you know what, I think I'm ready to buy. I don't want to rent anymore.
Simple conversation. More than happy to give me a call. We can have a 5-10 minute conversation. I can learn a little bit about them and see if it's a program that might be fitting for them, and then we can go on from there. Simple online application generally takes a buyer 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and that'll really lay the groundwork to see if they kind of meet the 3 criteria for the loan itself, and then we'll also figure out if they're eligible for the down payment assistance as well.
Okay. Now, a lot of people think, I think we said outside, they have bankruptcy or, they have something maybe negative on their credit, and maybe their credit is a little bit lower. It's not a perfect, 700. Should these people be discouraged?
No, never. It's all about planning, right? And the earlier you start talking to the person that's going to, in the end, help you with the financing, the better off you are. So learning what you need to do to be able to qualify 6 months from now, learning today versus in 6 months is way better, right? Because you come to me in 6 months, and then we learn that we have a whole nother 6 months just to figure out or resolve any issues that might happen. What's neat about us is we can actually offer a soft pool. So if I know a client is on the lower end of the credit spectrum, we kind of can tell off the bat they're not really meeting the minimum, which we can actually go down the 500 credit, but there's a 10% down. So generally, if somebody is on that low of a credit score, the down payment is also an issue as well. But typically, 580 credit will get you 3.5% down on an FHA loan, and then the minimum for the down payment assistance actually isn't too bad. It's 620.
Oh, 620.
So many people fall above that.
Yeah, definitely. So now, what parts of Miami can these buyers utilize?
What's interesting is the system's based off of zip codes. So if you have a buyer and you're interested in finding out if the area makes the buyer eligible, just shoot me a text with the zip code. It's based off a zip code. Personally, I've looked up dozens of zip codes locally, Wynwood to downtown to Edgewater, even Coral Gables and the Grove, some areas that you wouldn't think would be eligible are. I actually haven't found a zip code locally in Miami-Dade that isn't eligible. Besides the area, say we find somebody that wants to buy in an area that's not specifically eligible, there's a number of ways to become eligible for the program. One is simply being a first-time home buyer. Two, if your income is below 140% of the area median income average, that'll qualify you. And as well as if you ever plan to or have volunteered or are currently a educator, a police officer, a first responder, EMT, pretty much anybody that falls into the category of giving back to the community. And as I said, if you're planning on doing that in the future, that'll make you eligible as well. So the bar to entry is pretty obtainable.
That's great.
Yeah.
It sounds like this program is designed to help people get into a property, and with that, just improve the community and improve the area around. So it sounds like a nice program.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to make a neighborhood nicer is to bring in people that are owning and living in the neighborhood. It's people that rent. It's not they don't own it, so they're not necessarily going to take good as care of a property as somebody who not only owns it, but is also living in it and wants it to look nice from their perspective as well.
Right, yeah. I mean, we don't think about this, but zooming out, when you rent a property, there's a lot of things you can't do. You can't change the paint, you can't change the floor, the little cosmetic things. And even if you want to go outside and, plant some flowers, in a flower bed or something, you can't do that because you have the landlord and they don't want any modifications. So
exactly, you can't really put your personal touch on it as much. And down here, rents are just as much as mortgage payments. So
yeah,
it really would behoove people to own where they live.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Shawn, when you're not in the office writing up loans, helping buyers, achieve their goals, where can Miami find you?
I love two things. I like water sports, so either wakeboarding or wake surfing out in the bay, or mountain biking. Local, there's plenty of local trails around here.
Where do you go for mountain biking?
Actually, my favorite spot's out on Virginia Key, back behind the beaches. If you just take the park road all the way till it dead ends in the back, there's a beautiful trailhead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And you drive your car or you bike up?
I think it's about 6-mile ride from my house to the trailhead with the Rickenbacker Bridge in between.
Right.
So I've done it a couple times, but I like to get to the trails and have a full bag of energy. So I typically drive there. Depends. You got to pay to park. So what a lot of people do is they'll park across the street along the beach there and then ride the last little bit in. Little tip.
Little pro tip.
Yeah.
And then wakeboarding, you said?
Love it.
Yeah. How'd you get started with that?
Interestingly enough, I moved to Miami for grad school, and during that year I picked it up, had a lot of fun with it, graduated, and during that time kind of fell in love with the sun, the water, the beach.
Yep.
And got into that for a little bit. Actually opened up Miami Wake Academy. Have since kind of passed the reins on to a couple friends of mine and really let them run with it as I transitioned into mortgages a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've just done everything since moving here. Wake Academy and
I had to get the beach bum itch out.
Yeah.
Before settling down, and I think it worked out well.
I did notice you changed your Instagram name.
Finally, right?
Yeah.
I think I had
because when I met you, your hair.
I used to be the mortgage bun. I had a lot more hair, and actually I had hand surgery 3 days after having hand surgery and not being able to put it up, and it in my face. It got cut. So.
That was it.
Yeah. Then 6 months went by. I kind of didn't change it, and then finally settled in on my name.
You got it.